I'm going to show you how to do a sample analysis with some made-up data for fungi growth. And this is the same experiment that you ran. And so what we have is, in this spreadsheet, Alternata and Italicum, two different fungi, growing in the same dish, and the percent coverage of each. So if the total is 100% in this particular dish, 10% of that growth, roughly 10% of that growth, was Alternata, and so the remaining growth, roughly 90%, was Italicum. And the question is, do these grow differently at different temperatures, 35 degrees and 40 degrees? So this is in Excel. I need to get it in JMP to do the analysis. So first, let me open JMP. Okay, JMP is open. I'm going to open a new data table, and I'm going to clean up my screen a little bit. There we go. All right, so the first thing I need to do is to make some columns in JMP. So let's count. In Excel, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 columns. So I need to make 7 more columns in JMP. And to do that, I double-click on the column heading until I have 8 columns. Okay. Now I need to go back into Excel and grab the data, copy and paste the data that I want to paste into JMP. So I'm going to grab these, copy, go back into JMP, and to do this, I want to highlight, just click and hold all of the column headings to highlight them, and then go to Edit, Paste with Column Names. So there we go. All right, first thing I need to do, here's temperature. If I want to see how temperature is formatted in this column, I double-click the heading, and it's actually numeric continuous. I want to change that to numeric ordinal. Okay, so double-click the column heading, it'll bring up this window, drop-down menu to ordinal, click OK. And you can see over here on the side that this little icon changes, and those green bars, the 3 green bars, tells me it's now formatted as ordinal. That's what we want it to be. All right, let's run an analysis. Let's focus on Alternata. The question is, does Alternata grow differently at 35 versus 40 degrees? All right, let's run the test. Go to Analyze, Fit Y by X. In my X box, okay, my independent variable, it's going to be temperature. So highlight temp, click this button, temperature goes in the box. We're going to look at percent coverage of Alternata, so click that, click the Y button, and click OK. So here is the distribution. This is not the results of analysis, it just shows us the distribution of the data. And what this suggests is that Alternata covers much more percentage of that dish, grows much more at 40 degrees versus 35. Let's see if that is a statistical result, if that is correct. So go under this little red triangle, gives you a pull down menu, click t-test. And we're looking for our p-value. And there it is. The absolute value of t is 0.0001 with a little asterisk. So that tells me that, yes, there's a statistically different level of growth in terms of percent coverage at 40 degrees in Alternata versus 35. Okay, let's try Italicum. And what we expect is, because we're working out of 100%, 11% here, for example, in Alternata versus 90% in Italicum, that we would see the inverse. For Italicum, we'd see much greater growth at 35 versus 40. But let's look at that. Okay, back to Analyze, Fit Y by X. Again, temperature goes in the X. And this time we're looking at Italicum. So Italicum goes in the Y. And as we suspected, it is the inverse. Let's run the analysis. So remember, back up to the red triangle, pull down menu, click t-test, look for your p-value, absolute value of t is statistically significant. So there is a difference in Italicum when grown at 40 versus 35, and in fact it grows better at 35 versus 40 degrees. Okay, let's try another one. I'm going to close this. I'm going to open another data sheet. This one is flavus versus Italicum, same conditions, 35 versus 40 degrees. So back to JMP. Remember, we need to create a new data table. I'm going to clean it up a little bit here. I need to make 8 columns, so double click on a heading. Okay, back to our Excel sheet, highlight and copy everything we want to put into JMP. Remember to highlight the column headings and go edit, paste with column names. Okay, so remember we have to check on the format of temperature. Again, double click the heading, drop down menu, change to ordinal, click OK. All right, let's look at flavus. Does it grow differently at 35 versus 40 when it's in competition with Italicum? And looking at just the raw data, these raw data, it doesn't seem to. It's all roughly around 95% or so. Let's run the analysis. Analyze, fit y by x. Remember, temperature goes in your x. We're going to look at flavus. So flavus goes in your y. Click OK. Here are the distribution of these data. Okay, doesn't look like there's much difference between 35 and 40 degrees for flavus in 2 different temperatures. Let's run the analysis. Pull down menu, t-test. Our p-value is not significant. It is larger than 0.05. So we suggest that these 2 temperatures do not affect, 35 and 40 degrees, do not affect the growth of flavus. Okay, remember, Italicum should be the inverse of that, so we would suspect that the same would be true for Italicum, and in fact, if we ran the analysis, we would find the same thing. There's no difference in Italicum growth at 35 versus 40 degrees.